Yes, there we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, this is Marie. You know us by now.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So we're going to talk about the book that just came out called Our Silent Voice, Break the Silence. That was an international bestseller. It still is. I mean, it's got that designation and it's got the thing on the book, right? Yeah.
Right. It's got the big gold seal on the
Yeah, the
cover.
big gold seal, which
So
is
amazing.
really cool. We're excited about it. But what we're going to talk about today is how writing your story and oftentimes reading other people's story make an enormous difference. And Marie, you were saying that you were chatting with a friend of yours, correct?
Well, I have a friend who did her thesis on whether or not what we read transforms us and how it changes us. And I think that that's a fascinating topic because especially Our Silent Voice, I think, changes the reader. I've seen so many people, friends of mine who've read the book, and people who've left reviews for us online, really great reviews. Thank you for that, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
It really does changes you. It changes you when you read these stories, and it changes the way you are informed about those stories. And
Exactly. And don't you think
I think hopefully it will change our societal dialogue about this topic.
Well, I think that's an important point, and sorry for interrupting. I think that when my husband read this, it opened his eyes to how impactful it was. It's one of those subjects we just sort of put on the side. It's not something that we talk about every day. But when he read it, he was surprised at how prevalent and how impactful it was for people who wrote. And he said, I've never thought about it this way before. So if that is the minimum that can happen when people buy the book and read the book, I think that's great. Just to say,
I think it's amazing. Yes, I agree.
To people, and it happens to what, 4 out of every female and 1 out of 4 women. This is the statistic, and I think it's put together by Rain. Was it Rain?
Yes, and 1 out of 6 men.
And 1 out of 6 men have experienced sexual assault. Well, it shows in our book with the men that have contributed. You know, have been.
And I think it's also in our book, it shows that there's a gigantic leap from the severity of certain events and then other events that are just so simply annoying that we as people should not have to accept in our day-to-day lives.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know all part of that spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. I think as I was writing another story, I was thinking about the impact that workplace harassment played upon my decision, played upon my behavior, played upon my ability to think through how I acted or showed up or how I was in the workplace to minimize the probability that it's going to happen. Can you imagine living your life like that? It's stressful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you work in and I was in office buildings, I was in manufacturing facilities, and it is not that I felt vulnerable. It just made me so angry that the only way that some man could relate to me is by touching or commenting on my figure or commenting on my looks. That's the way you're going to relate to another woman when she is working with you. That just doesn't, it's too much. And the kind of decisions that are made in the workplace about that. Now that's that. And then there's getting gang raped at a party, right? So there's that. But then there's another spectrum, which are people that enter a system like, conservatorships or, you don't have a home and you get picked up and you're trafficked. And I mean, there's just a huge amount of violence against human beings that's happening out there. And it's hard to talk about it all. But what we've found is writing about it gives you power to make a choice. Don't you think?
Well, and one of the things that never ceases to fascinate me too, when we do our presentations and we do the 10-finger
Yeah,
exercise,
yeah.
how we mention different types and different things that can happen. And the faces that the women sit there and they, I, yeah,
Awesome.
yes, that did happen to me. Yes, that did happen to me. And yes, I have accepted this as part of my daily life all the
Yes,
time. And I don't
exactly.
have to. I
And
don't have to.
exactly. So
Wow.
one of them that rang to me, that woke me up, was how often do you walk to your car in a parking garage with your keys in your fingers in a defensive mode to protect yourself?
Right. Or if you hear footsteps behind you, are you completely freaked out?
Exactly. So I asked my
Sometimes you
husband
are.
this, and he was in the military and he was a pilot for Continental. And I asked him, when you hear someone walking up behind you, what do you think? And he goes, oh, I think it might be a friend. I said, here's what's different between you and me. I'm worried I'll be assaulted. I don't think it's a friend. I think it's an assault. And that is how women walk through life. Often.
World without that would be,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it is the psychology of how we're raised, women and men. And I think women oftentimes are particularly vulnerable because of our size differential.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You know, if I was like my neighbor, Joe Jones, who's a police officer in the Houston Police Department, and I was 6'1" and I played basketball, I might not worry quite so much. But as a 5'5", not so giant human, I know I can be overwhelmed, and that's a defensive move. Anyway,
I think even as a trained athlete and a very tall, big woman, I think you still have a vulnerability. You still have a vulnerability that men don't have. But that's not to say that men aren't also assaulted and attacked.
oh, I know.
You know,
I know.
young boys, young men,
Exactly. And it's a power
and the
differential.
marginalized.
Yeah, and the power differential there too. Yeah. So I've been in communication with someone over Instagram about the vulnerability when you're in an organization that has a power differential. And hers, and where it happened with me too, also was in the religious community, where it was believed that the preacher or the minister as a leader had more access, or that you were raised believing that the male in your family is the leader and they can do more than you can do.
Yeah.
It can lead to that power shift that happens. Yeah. With people. Anyway, we're probably getting into subjects that you and the public may be sensitive to. So we understand that. And we're sorry if we bring up things that are uncomfortable, but guess what? We have to end the silence about this particular subject. So that's what we're doing, and talk about it. But Marie, we've been getting pretty good reviews about our book.
We've been getting excellent reviews, and it's so encouraging to read them. It's wonderful. And if you haven't read the book yet, it's available on Amazon. And if you haven't left us a review yet, we would love to hear your reactions to our work. We put it out there with a lot of effort and a lot of love. And
so you know what?
Know that this book will change you.
I bought the Kindle version, and it shows up on my Kindle perfectly. They did it.
Great.
Yeah, perfectly. So we also have a hardcover option. I mean, if you really want to have something special on your bookcase, we've got the hardcover version available on Amazon. And I believe and I haven't checked, but I think we may be available on Walmart too.
Tell them about the book contest.
Oh, that's right. We entered a book contest. Very exciting. The Writers League of Texas, an amazing organization. And if you are a writer and you're watching this, check them out. They've got fabulous virtual courses. And I've taken several of them and oh gosh, they were just so, let's see, how do I want to say this? It's a craft, right? You learn craft when you're with the Writers League of Texas. It's not just talking about, it's doing. And I like that a lot. I've learned a ton. So they have a best book of 2021 that they have made available to writers in Texas. And we are writers in Texas. And we submitted Our Silent Voice Break the Silence to the contest. And
We can hear you cheering for us. We know.
I know, we know you love that. So we'll see. We will announce it. Like, we'll probably have a whole Friday talk about that. Don't you think, Marie? Oh,
Absolutely.
so great.
Hopefully
Yeah.
someday soon we'll be able to even meet in person again.
Oh, God, would that be great?
Well,
But
yeah.
we also are starting to get some speaking engagements, right?
Right.
Yeah. So pretty soon we're going to be out there in the public talking. We're going to be on a couple of podcasts. I think, Marie, we need to think about this like we did in high school. How do you get popular, right?
Well, okay. So what about giving them the offer that we talked about? Can I
Oh,
talk?
that's a good idea. Yeah.
So if you haven't bought the book yet, and if you're curious to know what my story is or what Janet's story is, if you go to our website, you'll find our email address. Send us a quick email and we'll send you our individual stories if you'd like. Just, I hope that you will understand that we've been there and feel more comfortable about reading the book or sending us a submission for the next volume. So our email address is mpjp@oursilentvoice.com. And our website is very easy to remember, oursilentvoice.com. Just
Yes,
check,
exactly.
And
also on our website, I think it's worth saying, Marie, that, wow, we have our latest blog is on trafficking. It is, I think it's mind-blowing. There's tons of places to research that subject if you've ever been interested. I mean,
we could have written pages.
Oh God, we could have written a book just about what we learned. I mean, really, I guess you could say that we walked into that subject knowledgeable from an observer, distracted outside the bubble kind of way. And we jumped into the bubble, had a fabulous talk with Shawnee Basie from The Landing. Oh, that was transformational. So you'll hear more about that in our blogs on our website. So check out our blogs, read them, comment, go ahead, say whatever you have to say after you've read a blog. None of them are long. None are long. Neither one of us like to write long anyway, so don't worry. We write them to interest you, so check them out. It was great talking with you
today. Thank you very much.
Oh gosh, it was so great. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So we're going to end recording.